What's up, guys? It is the Biblical Boys podcast,
Today, we are going to be going over some of the most heated arguments in society today.
such as the start, LGBTQIA plus, immigration, abortion, and gun control. Let's get started. All right, starting off the start. There is many misconceptions when it comes to the start or how the Earth came about, such as the Big Bang Theory. Eli's going to go talk a little bit about that. We're going to go more in depth in a different podcast episode. But why it really doesn't work at the Christian perspective of the Big Bang Theory, why it doesn't work.
Yeah. So, like William said, I'm just going to give a brief overview of why this doesn't work with a Christian worldview, but we will be going more in depth in this to other videos. But um, one of the things that I have seen other people talk about is they try to mix evolution and evolution, the Big Bang Theory, with Christianity, with creation, and try to say that God could have used evolution as a means of creating the Earth. Well, ultimately, this is pretty simple of why it wouldn't work. If you put into perspective, the main thing that evolution uses is death. It uses the process of mutation and natural selection to slowly evolve species. Well, if God used that, then what would be the purpose of sin? Why was the consequence of sin death if death already entered the world? It kind of flaws itself, which then would contradict the Bible. If you believe that evolution exists, then there would have to be death before the first sin, which means that the consequence that was given for our sin and our disobedience to God wasn't actually a punishment because it already existed, which then would make the Bible flawed and make it not true.
So on the episode, we're going to go a little bit more in depth on the truth. But so if that is not true, what is the truth on how the world started? To me, I believe and know, backed by facts, that creation. God created the earth. We had a creator, and he created us. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, as Genesis 1:1 says. I encourage you to read through Genesis 1 and 2 just to get an example of how, kind of understanding how the earth was created there. Yeah, so we're definitely going to go more in depth with that. Okay, topic number 2.
Yeah. Topic number 2, we're going to be going over the LGBTQIA plus topic. Uh,
Yeah.
you can expand on that.
Okay, so I wrote something here. I looked it up, and if this is true, this is truly disgusting. Nearly 1 in 10 U.S. adults identify as LGBTQ. Guys,
That's messed up.
that's sad. Um, I don't know what the perspective is. If you're a Christian, if you're a atheist, whatever, you were created a specific way. Even if you don't believe in the creation, it's your specific way. Why do you think it's okay to just change that? But as a Christian, God created us one way, right? Male and female, only two genders. As I'm going to play a video here from Trump, and he points on that. Let's just play that video here.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Wow, that is pretty wild to see because you guys voted for him. Maybe not necessarily you, but overall the country did. And he won that election, in my opinion, fair and square, and that's pretty amazing to see. So my question then is why? Why is that 1 in 10 US adults? Why is there so much support to this, in my opinion, disorder of people? It is a sick disorder where we highlight and say it's okay. No matter what the disorder is, we should be helping them and not helping them to do it helping them to get away from it and to treat that problem.
As I see this, the more people that fall into this temptation and fall into this sin, ultimately it's just being selfish at that point. You were created in a perfect way, in the perfect way God designed you. God doesn't make flaws, he doesn't make mistakes. When he made you a guy, he made you a girl, he meant it. He didn't make a mistake and meant to make you a girl, but were made a boy. No, he doesn't make mistakes. So by becoming transgender or by going and becoming gay, that's saying that you know better than God, that God made a mistake and you know better than God's perfect will and that your will's more perfect than his. And ultimately, that's just being selfish. You're saying you are more important and your thoughts are more important than your holy creator. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. The Bible is truth, and I can tell you right now, then you should follow it because it is backed by fact that that book is a living truth that it's inspired word, God's inspired word. All right. Okay, so even if there's two genders, there are still people that are unfortunately extremely confused. It does not solve LGBTQ because, as we just talked about, the transgender problem. And this is unfortunate, but I'm going to play a video that is super unfortunate. Why is this video titled this? God made my child trans. Let's just play the video.
Means he made everybody that's here.
Within your statement, you're insinuating that God made people gay.
Yes, he did.
That's what you're insinuating.
There's nothing wrong with my child. God made my child the way they are. If you don't like it, that's your problem.
So God made him male, but you said your son calls himself
Because my
female.
child
God,
is female.
there's the free will.
God gave us free will. God said, be who you want to be. As long as you're not hurting anybody, it doesn't matter what you identify as, who you identify as. Be a good person, it's all set.
You said that God said, be whoever you want to be. Where's that at?
Because God didn't say I had to stay female. God didn't say, oh, this is the body we gave you, this is all you can be. God gave you the right to choose who you want to be.
God made you who you are. He gave you free will, and we can choose to go against his will.
No.
Yeah, I would ask that question as well. Where's that at? That says God says be whoever you want to be as long as you're not hurting anybody. But the fact is you are, because that is literally hurting people by saying it's okay to sin, because that is sin.
What I see there, and I've seen this argument brought up more than just one case, not just in that video, is God created us with free will. Since we have free will, that must mean that he
Hmm.
should allow us to do whatever we want. That he gave us the choice to be able to do whatever we want, and it's just fine as long as we're good people. Well, that doesn't work. God gave us free will because he didn't want robots. He didn't want to create someone who worshipped him and glorified him and loved him because they had to, because that's how they were programmed. We were given free will because he wanted people to freely see his goodness and freely love him and praise him and live with eternity with him. But since we have free will, we have the choice to go against his will, which is against his perfect will. And by doing that, you're saying that you know better than God, that you have better judgment than what he thinks is right.
Yeah, he's got a good point there. You can choose to. God did give us the free will. Doesn't mean we should sin, because God said, "Yeah, I give you the free will because I want you to choose to follow me, but it's your choice ultimately. You can choose to follow him or not. It is your choice. But I would urge you to follow him because it's a lot better path."
Just to go on to a small little point that she also made in that video is that she said as long as you weren't hurting anybody per se, and that you were as long as you were a good person, then it's fine. It doesn't matter who you're going to be, who you identify as. Well, even a situation like that, that's still flawed. God says in his holy scriptures, you can't go to heaven by works. It's the law. was made faulty. The law was brought in so that we may become conscious of our sin, but it wasn't brought in so that we could be good people. And if you could go into heaven just by being good people, then everybody wouldn't be equal. You could say, "Oh, I did so many better um good things than this person, or I did 100 good things in my lifetime, where this person only did 50 good things in their lifetime." It makes boasting possible, and it makes some side of hierarchy. You go to heaven by faith and relationship with God. And that faith and relationship with God goes with trust in God and trust in His will. But if you're making you the center, if you're making your thoughts the center of saying, I know what's better for me and I know what I was supposed to be, that's making no, that's not, you're not putting your trust in God anymore. You're saying that your judgment's better than His, which is destroying your faith, destroying your relationship.
Mhm.
And without faith, you're you're dead. Your soul is dead. You cannot live eternity with God without faith and a relationship with Him.
Yeah, there's a lot of verses about that too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, yeah, okay. So I think we covered that. Again, all of the main topics that we're talking about today. So the start, LGBTQ, immigration, abortion, gun control. We are going to go more in depth, a specific video about that topic. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And if you have something you want us to talk about more deeply, please do comment down below. We would love to read your comments there. All right, moving on, immigration. The topic of immigration is quite heated because opening up borders, closing up the the topic more specifically of just illegal people in our country. As Christians, there's the uh, wanting to support everyone, right? We want to support everybody. We love everybody as our neighbor. Love everybody as ourselves, even the people that we don't agree with. There was a guy that said, I have friends that are uh, all kinds of different beliefs. So like trans, skinhead. So there's a bunch of different ones out there that he was friends with because he he didn't agree with them, right? But he pleaded with them and said, you know, you need to change your ways. This is wrong. So when the topic of illegal immigration comes up, you get the argument of, well, don't you support everybody? Don't you want everybody in your country? And here's what I have to say about that. Yes, I think everybody should have an opportunity. But what I believe, as far as politically and not necessarily just religious point, is that you should be prioritizing protecting your own people first before you go out on a limb and start trying to pour in people in your country, making it a more dangerous place. Yes, I don't I not to be rude, but like I don't care about if you're African, Asian, whatever. You're equal in God's eyes. In my eyes, I think you're just the same. It doesn't. There's nothing that makes you more or less to God. You're all equal in His eyes. He created all of you. And so, with this topic, yes, I support people that are illegal immigrants. But I think they should do it the right way. I think they should properly come into the country the right way. Do you have anything to put on that?
Yeah. Um, Kind of like what William said is I I want to support the people who come in. And honestly, we don't know the stories of every single person who legally enters the country. We don't know if they're just coming in to be selfish, if they're going in there to be able to destroy the government because they don't like our government, or they could be going in there because they're in an abusive family, or they're being hunted by a gang or something. They may be trying to get in there to be safe. We don't know the situations. And I want to support everyone who's coming in there. But it's also a safety measure. And I'm going to bring up a little bit of sensitive topic. If you've stayed in the loop of recent news, you've heard about Hamas attacks in Israel. That's pretty dark. That is God's country, and we have people running through there trying to kill anybody they can. That same thing can just as likely happen to America. Though it may not be the same intent as Hamas, where Hamas is going in there because of their religious beliefs, there may be some communist government who wants to slowly run over America and are gonna use open borders to do that.
Yeah.
And, I've kind of I know this is kind of a weird way to perspective, but by letting those people in, you could actually cause less people in the world to be saved than not, because if all those people are in there and just could wreak havoc and killing people who cannot be saved yet, it's causing people who could have been saved have their lives cut short and not be able to have a chance to know Christ. And that's why I think missionary work is also very important is
Mhm.
though I do believe that we should make our borders to where you can only enter the country in a legal way. In a legal way. Because we have a process of doing that. Though it may be a long taking process until you get full citizenship, we have a way to get into the country legally. But I don't think we should just open our borders, but we should also influence more missionary work, more work of going into those countries that want to immigrate into our country and bringing Christ straight there instead of endangering the people that are already in our protected country. We can go and bring ourselves into those dangerous situations, going and though we may be risking ourselves, we're not risking millions of others for our own wants. We're
Right.
going there and we're putting ourselves in line to still be able to spread the gospel, and we're not neglecting anyone that way. We're still uh, we're still completing the same goal without putting millions of others in danger.
Yeah. And that's why I really appreciate this opportunity here on YouTube and Spotify to be able to um, encourage people and teach them and minister to them through this online community. And while it is very, very vital and important to have that hands-on talking, as Eli was talking about, going to those countries and not risking all of these lives, this gives us a great opportunity where we're able to encourage people in a way that maybe they wouldn't have the opportunity to talk to somebody. But if you are not saved, I hope this is an encouragement, and I hope that this will help you to go and seek for that love of God, because He does love you, and it is awesome.
Okay. Our next point of this video is abortion. And obviously, this is a very, very large topic. Um,
Again, like I said, we're doing a video about it. That's going to be more in depth. We're just going to talk about briefly of it.
yeah,
In this um, topic of these heated arguments of pro-life, pro-choice, like what does that really mean? And there's a bunch of different things that go in depth about it. But here's what I'll say: abortion is murder, and I truly believe that. Um, uh, that is a baby. You can't just say it's just a clump of cells. That baby has fingers and toes. That baby is a real baby. It has a heartbeat. Even though it's still inside, it is still an alive child. And the thought that there is places that are saying it's okay all the way up to around birth or even at birth is sick. It's sick just to begin with. Saying abortion at all is sick. It is sin, and people are going to disagree with this, but it is truly the truth. Abortion at all is sin. It is murder, and that's that that's pretty much it, because it is 100% murder.
I'm going to just elaborate a little bit for Christians here of why this is like such a big deal for us. God says that He knows who you are before you're even conceived, that He already knows what you're going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to think, and absolutely anything about you before you're even concepted, before there's any sign of anything of you even being created. If that's true, then that means you already have your personality. You already have your soul as soon as you're concepted. You already have your soul. You're already a person, a full human being
Hmm.
at the moment of conception. That means that it doesn't matter if you get an abortion at 1 week, 6 weeks, 10 weeks. As soon as you're accepted that single day, you're already a human being. That means any point past that, you're killing God's creation. You're destroying the opportunity of a baby being brought into this world and living to its fullest of what God intends that child to be.
Yeah, and it's sad, and there's gonna be people that again are gonna argue with this, like, what if somebody, what if they're raped or something like that, and the fact is, it still goes back to the point. It is murder, and it can be hard because of that. Um, you don't want to have a child. You're not ready to have a child. Give that baby a chance. If you are not ready to be a mother, which I encourage you to do the best you can. But if you cannot, give that baby a chance in this world because pro-choice, that's not pro-choice. Aborting a child is not pro-choice. You don't give that baby a chance. That baby has thoughts of its own. Give it an opportunity to choose what to do. And if that's truly what you believe, give that baby an opportunity. So by being pro-choice, you're letting that baby live. So, I mean, pro-life and pro-choice shouldn't be an argument because you're giving an opportunity, both for parents and children. That baby has life.
Yeah. And I'm going to bring up a little bit of a different point. Um, I'm not promoting this in a way, and I don't think you should do this. But if there really is a bad situation and you're pregnant and there's some sort of a bad situation where if you keep this child, something bad's going to happen to the child, no matter what, whether it's some weird abusive relationship, abusive family, or where you live, whatever. At that point, I don't think you should still abort the child. That doesn't matter. That's still murder. I still believe you should give that child a chance. But at the very least, find a Christian family that's willing to foster a child. If it really comes to that point, don't just say just because something bad's happening and you know that child's not going to fare under you, at least still give that child a chance at life. I don't advocate this. I don't think that you should opt it out instead of abortion of just thinking, "Oh, I'm not gonna abort this child, but I'm just gonna go immediately go into foster care and not give the baby a chance." I don't advocate that, I don't want you to do that. I would still want anyone to give a chance at parenthood, have that beauty of being able to be a parent and be able to be a mentor to a new child. But if it really comes to that point, don't kill your child. At the very least, give it some sort of a chance at a life and a chance to be the person that God wants that person to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's give them an opportunity, give them a chance in this world. Um, that shouldn't be your call of what to do with that after you are going to have a baby. Give that baby a chance. Moving on to the next topic, which I believe there's going to be a lot of controversy just from this gun control. Again, we're going to go more in depth, but should everyone possess a gun? Here's what I'll say. As a worldly perspective, I think no. I do not think everyone should have the possess a gun. Are we talking about the United States or the whole world? Well, in the United States, I think everybody should have the ability to possess a gun, but I do not think everyone should. Then it brings up the topics of, well, we need guns taken away because it's a weapon. Well, a gun is a tool, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth. But a gun is meant to protect yourself. Yes, there's people that use it wrong. You can also use it for hunting. There's many other application. I'm sorry that I just said to protect yourself because there is many other applications that are awesome and lots of fun. If it's just a sport or hunting, but here's the thing about it: is a gun a weapon? It can be, but here's the thing: if that person has ill intention, doing wrong, the chances are they will find a way. Maybe it's not a gun; they will find a way to do what they want to do. And it's sad. We have the free will, and people are going to try to stop that person, but the chances are they're going to get away with something. Somebody has an intention of doing harm, they're going to find a way to do harm. So taking away a gun is going to be, oh no, now we have to take away bats because people are going to use bats wrong. Now we have to take away batons from cops because a bad person just stole that guy cop's baton and now he's using it on him. And there's so many scenarios. It's like you can't take away that. It doesn't help the cause. The bad people that are intending to do bad with the guns are still going to find a way to get the guns. So by taking guns away, all you're doing is harming the people, the good people, because you're taking that security out of their hands to protect themselves. So don't take away guns. And I know there's going to be people raging at this. I hope the comments are exploding. No, but seriously, guns can be used as a very good self-defense weapon, especially against other guns, and it is something that I think that a lot of Americans, a lot of people should have and should protect themselves with because it is a very useful tool. And the fact is, it can just holding up a gun stops intention from bad guys all around because they're like, oh, I don't even want to play with that. And that should be that should be it. There is scenarios, unfortunately, where you will have to fire. But here's the thing, or hopefully you won't have to, but there could be scenarios that you might have to. But here's the thing, you rather protect yourself, your own family, your country, your world, than to just let it slip and let that person end up hurting you and your family and your country overall if we were talking about war, because it is important. Weapons are important. It is important to have them. Um, no, again, if you don't feel comfortable with a gun, you don't need to have one. But I don't think we should ban those people that are actually using it for protection, using it for fun, using it for hunting. Then we're gonna have arguments about different cultures, about PETA, people in the ethical treatment of animals. Here's the thing: by hunting, we're actually protected, and I don't need to go in depth about that. There's many people that talk about it. If you really want to avoid it, you're going to avoid it. If you really want to talk about it, you can talk about it. I'm not trying to scare those people away. We don't need to talk about hunting anymore. I do love it, but that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is that give the people the opportunity and don't take away their safety protection, because that is sad if your country is basically leaving you empty to fend with your hands, and the other guys, the bad guys, are sitting there and having the opportunity to hurt you. All right.
I did find another verse that I always like, that I always turn to when it comes about defending people. So this verse comes from Matthew 5:9. This is during the Beatitudes while Jesus is on the mountain. And he said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Now, I do see that this verse can be taken in several different ways. I've always taken one specific way, but I do believe there are many implications for this verse. The way I've always taken this is being a peacemaker doesn't always mean that you're going to act peacefully. It means that you are someone who strives for peace and wants peace to happen. If you look throughout scriptures, if you look throughout the Old Testament, there were wars that were happening. There were wars that God called his people to go into. The Battle of Jericho, and running through that city, going, and they were actually um, they're instructed to kill every single person inside of that city, besides that one woman that had housed the spies. I do believe that that's an act of being a peacemaker. I believe that being a peacemaker means you're striving for peace and you're striving for protection and to create peace, but sometimes making peace doesn't mean being peaceful. Well, being a part of that means how are you going to be able to defend someone if someone goes up and there's a school shooting? As a police officer, which actually in some regards are called a peace officer, goes into there and they bring a gun. And sometimes, sadly, they do have to shoot the person. I do believe that's an act of being a peacemaker. Being a peacemaker means you're striving for peace. If you don't stop that person, that could kill other people who may not know Christ yet and stop them from being able to be saved.
Mhm.
It's giving other people a chance. Sometimes being a peacemaker does mean using weapons. and sometimes means taking someone down that may not be actually rescuable.
Yeah.
God may be putting that in your path because He already knows the path that that person has chosen. But if you take away everything that causes you to be able to defend, if God chose to take away all the swords from the Israelites, they would have been completely slaughtered by the Amalekites or by the Romans or by even the other Jews in Jesus' time would have killed all the Christians. If you take away the weapon, then there's no way to be that peacemaker besides word of mouth, which I am not saying
Mhm.
that we need to be violent because obviously we are called to love our neighbors. We are called to love, not hurt. But sometimes you
But we're
have to do
also
that.
called for protection, and
Yes,
sometimes that is needed to protect.
correct. Um, but if you take that away, then how do you do that? It doesn't work. If you take away the object that you're using for good, then all the people are using for evil are still going to use it for evil.
Mhm.
The weapon itself is not evil. The act that the weapon does, or I'm not even going to use the weapon, but I'm going to say tool because everything is technically a tool
Exactly.
until it is turned into a weapon. It it's only bad if you use it bad, and it's only bad by the person who's using it. The Amalekites used the sword, used the blade, used the bow as weapons. They used it as means for war and death and ways to conquer. The Israelites used the weapon, used the not used the weapon, used the tool, used the blade, used the bow as a way of creating peace. They used them as peacemakers. I I do believe that that would be a solid argument of, in a Christian point of view, of why guns aren't this evil thing. Guns themselves are not evil. They can be used as peacemakers. They can be used as a form of defending others and defending those who can't defend themselves. Only when that tool gets put into the hands of someone who is untrustworthy or is impure will that tool truly become a weapon. So, as William said, I don't believe that everybody should have a gun. I do not believe everybody has the right or has the worthiness of being able to hold that because there are people who want to use that as an ill intent. But I do believe it is a good thing to have a weapon, or the tool, to have the gun, to have the firearm, because then you can use that as a peacemaking tool to defend your home or defend someone who can't defend themselves in very dangerous situations, or in the hands of a law enforcement to be able to keep this country safe, give more people a chance at life that may not have it if that peacemaking tool is taken away from us.
Yeah. So Eli and me both highlighted on this, but why not call a gun a weapon? The media has glued this name to guns. It is a weapon. It's dangerous. It kills people, which is not true. Um, and we can go more in depth about that in our episode, more specifically about this topic, about guns, about gun control. It is not. Guns do not kill. People kill. Do you call a hammer a weapon? No, you call it a tool. Is there people that have killed somebody, unfortunately, or hurt somebody very badly with a hammer? Definitely, definitely so. Same thing. You call screwdriver a weapon? No, you call it a tool.
I'm gonna just real quick, not to interject, but
Yeah.
just to bring kind of a real life situation to this. A mutual friend of ours who goes to a school near us had a friend that was killed um by another classmate with a screwdriver. Was brought out into the yard and was literally stabbed to death with a screwdriver. That kid brought in that screwdriver to that school, and it was just fine because it's not labeled as a weapon. It's labeled as a tool. And yet that screwdriver turned into a weapon. Well, if a person would have walked in there with a gun, it would have been called a weapon right off the bat, even if that person didn't have ill intent. They have glued this word weapon to tools that are only weapons because other people have chosen to use them as weapons more frequently than others. A
Mhm.
weapon is not the tool itself. Ultimately, it's not the tool isn't a weapon at all. In my opinion, the person's the weapon. The person is the true weapon using a tool for ill intent.
Truly, yeah. Yeah, if you're gonna take away guns, might as well take away screwdrivers. Might as well drown or drain all lakes because people drown. Might as well take away automobiles because people use them to wreck in. There, we wouldn't have a world if this was the scenario. But instead, as a society, we should, specifically with guns, and we have chosen to instead teach our children, teach people to use it correctly. Yes, there are going to be people that fall short, that choose to do the wrong thing, but there always will, no matter what the scenario is. So the best thing we can do is, as us, as humans, as United States citizens, to choose to have a gun or have a means of self-defense to be able to protect ourselves, our families, and others. Because there is, unfortunately, sin which has separated us in this world. And so, the best thing you can do as a citizen is to protect yourself, protect your family. That all means you need to. Yeah.
I really like that. So I think that is the end of our list for today. Like we said at the very start of this, um, we will have more videos following this that will cover each topic that we've covered today. This is just kind of a rough overview of each topic, but we are going to make um, videos on each one of these topics that is going to dive deeper into more theological or logistics or any sort of moral um, figures of each of these topics.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching this podcast episode. Again, like I said in the last episode, if you're here still, I'm very impressed. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate your support. It helps a lot. And again, not just subscribing for us, but subscribing for the world, because by subscribing, by leaving a like, by sharing it to your friends, you're getting the word of God out to others, giving an opinion that is Christian oriented, to other people to be able to be inspired and changed by God's word. Because, brothers and sisters, I know you want to see your other brothers and sisters in heaven. So please do share this. And I really appreciate your support. I will see you guys on the next. We will see you guys on the
Yeah.
next podcast episode.
Alrighty. Yeah. See you. God bless.